For decades, Amy Grant has been one of those rare artists whose music feels like it belongs to different stages of people's lives, comforting, reflective, and deeply familiar. Yet behind that public image of steady warmth, a more fragile and complicated story has been unfolding away from the spotlight. In recent years, fans have been confronted with reports of health struggles, recovery setbacks, and deeply personal challenges that reshaped how they view her journey. What makes this period especially heavy is not a single event, but the accumulation of many moments where resilience had to be rebuilt again and again. From medical emergencies to emotional rebuilding, her life has carried a weight that was not always visible on stage. The contrast between her public performances and private recovery has become more striking over time, leaving supporters to reconcile the enduring strength of her voice with the vulnerability of her body and memory. In this unfolding narrative, Amy Grant is not just an artist reflecting on life, but someone continuously negotiating what, quote, recovery even means, when it stretches across years rather than weeks, and when every return to normal feels partial rather than complete. The bicycle accident that changed everything. On a summer morning in July 2022, what should have been a routine bike ride near Nashville turned into a life-altering moment. Amy Grant was cycling on a familiar route when her front tire struck an unexpected pothole. The impact sent her over the handlebars, causing a violent fall onto the pavement. She was reportedly unconscious for several minutes before emergency responders arrived. What followed was not just physical injury, but a long and uncertain medical journey. Doctors diagnosed her with a traumatic brain injury and a severe concussion, conditions that immediately raised concerns about memory, balance, and cognitive stability. Even simple routines became challenging during the early stages of recovery. Friends and family described a period where familiarity itself felt disrupted. Names, lyrics, and memories did not always surface as they once did. The accident marked a dividing line between two versions of her life, one defined by effortless stage presence and another defined by careful rebuilding, patience, and constant adjustment. For someone whose career depended on voice, memory, and emotional precision, the injury introduced a kind of vulnerability that extended far beyond physical healing. Recovery, surgery, and the struggle to relearn familiarity. The aftermath of the accident revealed complications that went beyond the initial diagnosis. Alongside cognitive recovery, Amy Grant faced unexpected medical issues that required further attention, including a rare throat-related condition that had remained unnoticed for decades. At one point, she underwent a significant surgical procedure to address a thyroglossal duct cyst that had been present since birth. The combination of neurological recovery and physical healing made the process especially demanding. She described moments where familiar songs felt unfamiliar and where lyrics she had performed thousands of times required conscious effort to recall. Even speaking and singing became exercises in relearning rather than instinct. During performances, she occasionally relied on support tools like teleprompters, not as a convenience but as a necessity while rebuilding confidence. The experience was not simply about healing an injury but about reconstructing a relationship with her own identity as a performer. Every step forward required patience, and every setback reminded her that recovery was not linear. The process became a quiet test of endurance, shaped as much by emotional resilience as by medical treatment. A hidden heart condition that came first, before the bicycle accident and neurological recovery, another major health discovery had already changed Amy Grant's life. In 2019, during what was intended to be a routine medical visit accompanying Vince Gill, doctors identified a serious and previously undetected heart condition. She was diagnosed with partial anomalous pulmonary venous return, a congenital defect where some blood vessels in the heart are not properly connected. The condition had gone unnoticed for her entire life, despite years of performing and touring. The discovery was startling not because of immediate symptoms, but because of the long-term risk it represented. Doctors explained that she could feel completely normal until a sudden and potentially severe event occurred. This led to open-heart surgery in June 2020 during the height of global uncertainty. The procedure left a visible scar and marked another major turning point in her health journey. In the years that followed, she spoke openly about the emotional impact of realizing her body had carried a hidden vulnerability for so long. It reshaped her understanding of time, health, and the unpredictability of life itself. Growing up in a Nashville legacy, Amy Grant's early life unfolded in a very different environment from the one many fans might assume. Born in Augusta, Georgia, and raised in Nashville, Tennessee, she came from a family with deep historical and financial roots. Her great-grandfather, A.M. Burton, was a prominent businessman and philanthropist who helped shape parts of Tennessee's media and insurance landscape. She spent part of her childhood on Burton family land, surrounded by open fields, horses, and a sense of quiet privilege. Her father was a respected medical professional, and her mother came from another established Nashville family. Despite this background, her upbringing was also shaped by strict religious traditions within the Church of Christ community, where music was traditionally performed without instruments. That environment created an interesting tension between discipline and creativity. As a teenager, she was exposed to emerging contemporary Christian music through her older sister and local music scenes in Nashville. Those early influences quietly shifted her path, planting the seeds for a musical direction that would eventually take her far beyond the expectations of her immediate community. The teenage demo that changed her life. At just 15 years old, Amy Grant began writing and performing her own songs, recording a simple demo as a gift for her parents. That recording, created with the help of a church connection and a local studio opportunity, would become the unexpected turning point in her life. A producer who overheard her voice recognized something sincere and distinctive in her performance and passed the demo along to industry contacts. Soon after, she received a recording contract, an extraordinary outcome for someone still in high school. Her early work was described as sincere rather than technically polished, but that authenticity resonated with listeners. Her debut album introduced her to the growing contemporary Christian music scene, and by her early 20s she was already achieving significant chart success. Albums like Age to Age brought her widespread recognition, setting records within the genre and establishing her as a defining voice of inspirational music. What began as a teenage recording project quickly evolved into a professional career that would span decades, shaping both Christian and mainstream music landscapes in unexpected ways. Fame, reinvention, and cultural breakthrough. As her career progressed, Amy Grant transitioned from a Christian music artist into a mainstream pop presence without fully abandoning her original audience. The release of Heart in Motion in the early 1990s marked a major crossover moment, propelled by hits that reached broad radio audiences. Songs like Baby Baby introduced her to listeners far outside the Christian music world, expanding her influence significantly. This period of success, however, came with increased scrutiny from both religious and mainstream communities. Her growing visibility meant that personal life and professional choices were often interpreted through a public lens. At the same time, she continued to balance artistic evolution with deeply rooted spiritual identity, a combination that sometimes created tension within her audience. Despite the pressures, she maintained a consistent presence in the industry, performing, recording, and adapting to changing musical landscapes. Her ability to move between genres without losing emotional authenticity became one of her defining strengths, even as expectations from different audiences occasionally conflicted. Marriage, divorce, and public scrutiny. Amy Grant's personal life became a focal point of public attention during her marriage to songwriter Gary Chapman. Their relationship, initially viewed as a strong creative and spiritual partnership, eventually faced serious challenges. Over time, Chapman later spoke publicly about his own struggles, including substance use issues that predated their marriage. The relationship eventually ended in divorce in the late 1990s, a moment that triggered widespread reaction within the Christian music community. The separation was heavily scrutinized, and public perception became deeply divided. During this period, her association with Vince Gill also drew attention, adding another layer of public narrative that often overshadowed the personal realities involved. The media coverage was intense, and professional consequences followed, including temporary backlash within certain segments of her original audience. Despite this, she continued working and performing, gradually rebuilding her career over time. The experience became one of the most publicly examined chapters of her life, shaping how she was perceived both personally and professionally in the years that followed. A new chapter with Vince Gill. In 2000, Amy Grant married Vince Gill, marking the beginning of a long-term partnership that would become both personal and professional. Together, they built a blended family and a shared life grounded in music and collaboration. Their home life in Tennessee provided a quieter setting compared to the intensity of earlier public scrutiny. Over time, they also became known for their openness on social and cultural topics, including messages of inclusion and acceptance that sometimes sparked public debate. In 2021, she made widely discussed remarks about love and belonging that reflected her evolving perspective on faith and community. In 2022, she and Gill hosted a family wedding celebration that further highlighted their commitment to acceptance within their extended family circle. Around the same time, she received major recognition at the Kennedy Center Honors, where her influence as an artist was celebrated by peers across genres. This period represented a blend of artistic validation, personal conviction, and ongoing public attention, reinforcing her role as a figure who exists at the intersection of music, faith, and cultural conversation. The ongoing story of resilience and return. Looking at Amy Grant's journey as a whole, what stands out most is not a single dramatic event but the steady accumulation of challenges, recoveries, and reinventions that span decades. From early musical success in Nashville to global recognition, from personal and public relationships under intense scrutiny to major health scares involving both heart surgery and traumatic injury, her life has repeatedly shifted in ways that demanded adaptation. Each phase brought a different kind of rebuilding, sometimes physical, sometimes emotional, and often both at once. Yet through all of it, she continued to return to music, even when memory, stamina, or confidence required careful restoration. The later years of her career, especially following medical complications and recovery periods, have highlighted a quieter form of courage, the willingness to remain present even when things are not fully restored. Her story, as reflected in recent years and new creative work, is less about returning to a former version of herself and more about accepting a continually changing one. In that sense, her journey remains unfinished, defined not by closure but by continuity, where each chapter adds complexity rather than resolution, and where resilience is measured not by perfection but by persistence over time. The album, The Me That Remains and What Endures. In 2026, Amy Grant released a new album titled The Me That Remains, marking her return to new material after many years. The project reflected not only artistic expression but also the emotional weight of her recent experiences. Its title suggested reflection on identity after loss, recovery, and transformation. Rather than presenting a polished narrative of triumph, the album carried themes of fragility, endurance, and acceptance of limitation. It resonated with listeners who had followed her long career and witnessed the personal challenges she had faced in recent years. The work symbolized a continuation rather than a conclusion, suggesting that healing is not a final destination but an ongoing process. Looking across her life, from early musical beginnings to health crises, public scrutiny, and renewed artistic output, the thread that remains consistent is persistence. Her story is not defined by a single moment of victory or setback, but by the repeated act of continuing forward despite uncertainty. In that sense, the Me That Remains is not just an artistic statement, but a reflection of survival shaped by time, change, and enduring creativity.